Hello, I'm Tori Pyle, Assistant Curator here at Lancaster History. Today we'll be looking at two examples of Esprit Quilts from the Heritage Center collection. These are two of 82 quilts made by Lancaster County Amish women between 1895 and the 1940s. Here is a very early example. It's one of our 1895 quilts, some of the earliest in our collection. And it's an excellent example of the most basic form of piecing pattern that we see in Lancaster County Amish quilts. It starts with a center square, that's the name of the pattern, that is beautifully quilted, very traditional quilting patterns. We have, again, a very wide border, and we can look up close and look carefully. You'll notice that the warp and weft threads, so the horizontal and vertical threads that make up the textile, are different colors. They're also different materials, so it's a blend of wool and silk. Amish women called this Henrietta cloth, and it seems to be one of their favorites. We also see a pretty wide border and very wide binding. These are classic and iconic characteristics of Lancaster County Amish quilts. Because of this piecing pattern, the quilt itself is mostly square, and that is by and large true for most of the quilts that are in this collection. So from this very basic canvas, this basic piecing pattern, we start to see some creativity, quite a bit of creativity and expression, experimentation, as Amish women become more familiar with this quilting tradition. They start looking for other examples and really playing with the piecing that is available to them. So in just a moment, we will see an example of that. So we are back with our second quilt. Here is one of the, I think, fullest expressions of creativity within the classic form of Lancaster County Amish quilts. We can see the basic kind of skeleton, if you will, of that characteristic Lancaster County Amish quilt. We have a central motif inside a center square with the inner border, that wide outer border, plus that wide binding that we see so often. And there are a lot of elements here that have been added to and played with. The Amish community is certainly not static. They do, however, consider very carefully any changes that they want to adopt into the community and really take into consideration the impact that those changes will have. So the evolution of quilting fits right into that, and it developed kind of slowly. But again, there's a lot of creativity, a lot of expression, a lot of play within these quilts. So the center diamond here is a great example of that. This includes really all of the piecing patterns that we see on a bigger scale in Lancaster County Amish quilts. There's some bars, 9-patch, sawtooth. We sometimes see those half-square triangles in flying geese as well. And if you'll notice, the long edge and some of the short edges of the half-square triangles in that sawtooth border are top stitched, which is kind of unusual in this collection. We also see corner blocks added on the outer borders. And the quilting patterns themselves are a little bit different. Women started to experiment with kind of more what I would call naturalistic quilting patterns. So we can see baskets here, tulips that are clearly identified as such, rather than the maybe more abstract cross-hatching and curvilinear quilting designs that we see in some of the earlier quilts. So again, this is a really beautiful example of play and experimentation and kind of a slow development that we see in this Lancaster County Amish quilting tradition.